Am I the a-hole for not allowing a friend to move in with me? I, 19 female, come from a wealthy family. Even so, I had a job since I turned 16. My parents got me a car, but I had to pay for my own insurance and gas. I had a limit for how much my birthday and Christmas gifts cost. When I graduated high school and was accepted into a good college, my parents gave me a choice. 1, I live in the dorms. They pay for everything. I get just a bit of spending money, but they won't have a say in my life at all since I am an adult. 2, I live in a 2-bedroom apartment they own in the city. Doorman, gym, pool, and cleaning service. They pay for everything and I have more spending money. In exchange, I have to promise to keep a high GPA, no recreational substance use, no alcohol until I turn 21, and to not have any roommates. Then when I am a junior, the deed to the apartment transfers to my name. I accepted the second choice and it has been great. I'm an introvert, so I appreciate my space. The problem is that a friend I made at the beginning of the semester wanted to move in and I declined. She comes from a middle-class family, paying for her school using student loans, just normal. The first time she was over, she started making some tasteless remarks. Must be nice to never work a day in your life. Must be nice to have mom and daddy wait on you hand and foot, etc. When she wouldn't stop, I just started distancing myself from her. She has been having problems with her roommate from the get-go, but yesterday she just couldn't take it anymore. So she asked me in front of all our friend group if she could move in with me. I said no, she can't. She called me an entitled trust fund baby who didn't know what the normal people's struggles are, and stormed off. Now all my friends say that I'm the a-hole, that I have the space and it wouldn't cost me anything. I could just lie to my parents and they wouldn't know. I disagree, but I thought better to ask because if they don't give it a rest, I'm planning to cut all of them off. I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's rude and uncaring. She already insults you and your family. Well, let her in. Don't let her move in, ever. The fun question would be, would prospective roommate pay rent? I'm guessing we all know the answer. She's vastly entitled to assume that you owe it to her. It seems like her premise was that you'll host her in your apartment. Refusal wasn't a feasible option, and that is why it blindsided her. That's audacious. She can't possibly expect you to jeopardize your relationship with your parents and the privileges they give you because she doesn't get along with her roommates. It seems like she accumulated a lot of envy towards you, and she revealed it now. Not today, home. You shouldn't be lying to your parents, and you have no obligation to provide free housing to anyone, especially someone who makes snide comments about you and has demonstrated they can't get along with roommates. To be fair to her, her roommate is a nightmare, so she's at that fault on that side. Okay, I take that part back. Still doesn't mean you are required to offer free housing though, especially if it means lying to your parents. If nothing else, guaranteed you would be found out somehow. Even if there was no chance of being found out, I wouldn't lie to them. They're great parents, and I wouldn't want to break their trust in me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my best friend she's not equal to my fiancé? I'm 28 and engaged to a great man the same age as me. We've been dating since we were 16 and got engaged at 24 4 years ago. I have a best friend, Angela, who's also 28. She's a woman as well. So Angela has barely grown out of high school mentality. She still acts like she did back then. Clubbing every weekend, hooking up, always out with friends, new and old. She never had a boyfriend or girlfriend. She only has had situationships, so she doesn't know how commitment works. I don't judge her for that since she seems fine with her life and I'm happy that my friends are being themselves, and I get to be myself despite having different interests. Lately, I had my suspicions that Angela believes that she still comes before my fiancé, just because we were each other's #1 priority in high school. I tried to slip in multiple times, without being confrontational, that my fiancé and I are gonna be a family soon, and how he's my priority and so on, just to get the message across without having some uncomfortable conversation. She didn't seem to get it though, and something dramatic did end up happening. Angela's birthday was 2 days ago, and she planned on having a celebration tomorrow night. The place she picked was a male strip club. I texted her and told her I wouldn't feel comfortable to attend, because strip clubs cross my fiancé's boundaries. It's not because we don't trust each other, but we just don't feel comfortable with that in our relationship. Anyone who knows about this boundary has told us it's a normal boundary, but Angela said that I would be stupid to imply that I'll skip her birthday. I said that we could hang out the two of us someday and go for drinks, but I just don't feel comfortable attending a strip club. She said, but I'm your best friend. You're not gonna skip your best friend's birthday, are you? I said, sadly, I'll skip it. but I insisted on an alternative for another day. She got disappointed and said she didn't expect me to ever put a man's needs over our friendship. I reminded her he's my fiancé. She argued that him being a fiancé of mine doesn't mean he deserves special treatment over her. I told her that's exactly what it means, and I reminded her that she's not equal to my fiancé anymore in such situations, because he's the person I'm gonna marry and have a family with, and he's my #1 priority. I probably shouldn't have said that because she claims I'm the a-hole, and that I replaced her when I used to have her as my #1. I apologized for that phrasing and tried to explain what I meant, but she wasn't having it and said I should go cry to my fiancé and she doesn't need my fake apology. I didn't mean to hurt her feelings. I just felt like she was pushing me and had a one-sided competition with my fiancé, and I said that. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You set a mutually agreed upon boundary and you're following it. If she can't understand and respect that, she's not your friend. Many people would be uncomfortable having a birthday in a strip club, not just you. If she truly didn't consider that when she made the decision, that's her fault. Also, she was the one who pushed you to prioritize between her and your fiancé. If she wasn't going to be happy with your response, she shouldn't have put you in that position. I'm female, straight and single, and I would be uncomfortable going to a strip club and would decline an invite from anyone. Not the a-hole. You two are growing up. It's life, and it happens. How we handle it is up to us. But the sounds of it, you are a good and supporting friend. Even though the dynamic is changing, you are still there for them. Just remember they may not see it that way. All you can do is try your best to remind them they are still important to you, but there are boundaries. Hope this helps, and best of luck. I tried to explain it to her after I tried to apologize. She's definitely still one of the most important people in my life, but she has a hard time understanding boundaries and priorities because she's more free-spirited than I am. She doesn't know what those terms mean. I can't entirely blame her, but sometimes her insisting on putting herself above my fiancé seemed on purpose, so I felt disrespected. I would suggest giving her more time to adjust. I know I had a bit of a hard time when my friends were getting married. It can be a little scary, but the effort you were putting in should help her to adjust. Does she get along with your fiancé? That may be another reason she's lashing out. They get along. They're not best friends exactly, but they're friendly with each other, but have different interests, so they can't communicate about much. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for refusing to stay home with my kids while my husband attends my brother's wedding? I'm a stay-at-home mom and my husband works full-time. We have 3 kids and one of them is 2 years old. My husband helps a lot with the kids. He's a committed dad, but is absolutely against babysitters, due to an awful incident with a babysitter that was the reason his younger male cousin James got disabled years ago. I don't go out much since I have to take the kids with me, and not every place is suitable for kids. We received an invitation from my brother's, who has been my husband's friend since college, wedding which we later discovered was child-free. My brother lives states away, so the entire trip will take 4 days as well as my brother's in-laws' weekend dinner party, their tradition. I told my husband I want to go since it's been a while since I've been to a wedding, and this one is special, and suggested we get a trusted friend as a babysitter. He asked if I was serious to consider leaving our 2-year-old with a babysitter, and suggested that I do what I normally do and stay home with the kids while he goes to the wedding. I refused, and said I have as much right to attend as him since we both were invited. He said it wasn't his fault my brother wants a child-free wedding, and I should do this for the kids and sacrifice for their sake. I still refused and said this was unfair, and since he's a parent too, then he should also stay for the kids. He looked at me and said, "That's my best friend's wedding you're asking me to skip for Christ's sake. Are you kidding me?" Then said I was being petty for suggesting this and that I was basically choosing to go and party over keeping our kids safe. He asked me to consider this a business trip. What would I do? Go with him and leave the kids? I said I understand his paranoia of babysitters, but really all my friends have sitters and at times they're really needed. He said I ought to know better than what my friends tell me, and this wasn't even up for discussion. And when I kept arguing, he called me selfish and said he won't let me ruin his relationship with his friend because I was being spiteful for not being able to attend, and that my brother will understand my situation. He keeps asking who's more important, a wedding party or my kids, and said I was unreasonable for making my attendance the hill to die on. Am I the a-hole? Am I being selfish for wanting to attend this wedding, my brother's wedding, after 4 years not attending anything? I have a hard time to believe your husband is a good dad. Every single sentence from him smells like entitlement and selfishness. If you can't go to your brother's wedding, so can't he. Why doesn't he stay at home and you attend? Since this never came to his mind, he thinks less of you and your needs. You are the servant for the children, not his wife who is on the same level. This wedding shows you what kind of person your husband is and what he thinks of you. Not day-hole. Literally, every single accusation he's trying to throw at Opie is equally applicable to him. The hypocrisy and obtuseness are truly astounding. Exactly. Why should Opie miss her brother's wedding? Call me old-fashioned, but I think brother outranks best friend. When was the last time Opie's husband stayed behind? Not day-home. This is insane. It's your brother, and somehow your husband thinks he is the one who should get to go? When he's the whole reason you can't both go because of his unreasonable paranoia about hiring a babysitter. Honestly, if I were you, I'd be absolutely prepared to die on this hill. He's got away with holding you hostage to this nonsense for years. There's not one single logical reason why he should be allowed to attend rather than you. And if he was prepared to work on his own emotional baggage, then you could just hire a sitter like any other couple would do in this scenario. This is 1,000,000,000% on him. If anyone stays home with the kids, it should be him. He never stays behind. It's about time he did. He wants no babysitter? Well, he is dead, so he can stay and let Opie go to her brother's wedding. What I don't get is, it's her family. Is there not someone in his family who can watch the kids if he wants to go so bad? Not stay home. If he's the one against the babysitter, then he should be the one who stays at home. Your relationship seems very one-sided, and you shouldn't stop yourself going out. Tell him to try another babysitter, or he stays at home while you go out. Also, he says it's his best friend's wedding. It's your brother. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not taking in my fiancé's niece and nephew? My fiancé's sister and mother just passed away in an accident, and her sister left behind her 6-year-old son and daughter. And my fiancé pretty much immediately started talking about flying the kids here to move in with us. I've never been interested in having kids. I have nothing against kids in general. I just personally don't want to raise or live with any kids. But I've always been very clear on that, and I thought my fiancé was the same. So I reiterated my stance on having kids, and said I'm not going to change my mind on that now. My fiancé claims we're the only people who can take in these kids, which seems strange because she has a brother who has the bonus of living close to where the kids have been living, so they wouldn't even have to change schools. My fiancé says her brother can't take them because of money and being too busy, though I'm sure he could do it if he really wanted to. I'm pretty sure he gets money from the government for taking in orphan kids if you need financial help. Also, he's about to inherit a bunch of money from his mom. Instead if my fiancé insists on taking in these kids, we will no longer be compatible and will unfortunately have to end the relationship, and she'll have to move out of my place. She's mad that I'm making her choose between me and the kids, even though there's really nothing else I can do because I simply am not going to take in these kids. I just have zero interest in raising kids. I think it's completely unfair to expect me to upturn my life for 2 random kids I've never even met, just because her brother can't be bothered. She claims I'm basically saying the kids have to go to foster care, or I'll kick her out and leave her with nowhere to go and 2 kids to care for. Which is a bit dramatic because again, they have an uncle I bet who could take them in with a bit of effort. And if she really must be the one to take them, she could just move into her mom's old place or her sister's old place. She's also saying that I'm basically threatening to break up with her and kick her out right after her mom and sister died. But I don't see that I had a lot of choice since she was ready to bring 2 kids into my place. And it was either tell her my stance now, or wait until she'd already moved them in. Am I the a-hole? Nah, difficult situation. But you shouldn't have to change your life for these kids, though I would accept this as the end of your relationship. Yeah, it really sucks. But if she really must take these kids in, then we just aren't on the same path anymore. Even if she decides she can't take care of the kids on her own and stays with you, the resentment will probably end a relationship for you. This is a no-win situation. There's no way this doesn't end the relationship eventually. Not the a-hole for the sentiment, but if you're sharing it with her the same way you're putting it here, very much the a-hole for that. You say you thought she didn't want kids, but this has nothing to do with her wanting or not wanting kids. These are kids who already exist and who she already loves, who need help. If you're not willing to give that help, you can communicate that boundary, but you make it sound like she's gone all baby hungry or something. She hasn't. She's trying to simultaneously cope with crushing grief, care for 2 loved ones, and probably also trying to make sure she honors what her sister would have wanted. The way you talk about this whole situation doesn't seem to reflect empathy for that. I'm guardian for my developmentally disabled niece should something happen to her parents. Did I love that idea? No. Would I do it? Yes, to the absolute best of my abilities because I love her. Life sometimes throws you curveballs. OP doesn't want to be part of that, and that is okay. Fiancé will be better off without him, although that sting is likely going to take years to get over. No a-holes here, but can't say you're the most emphatic or lovely person. They're not two random kids. They're her sister's kids, man. Yeah, that bothered me a lot. OP has no empathy / willingness to see this from her point of view that this is her family, not kids just pulled off the street on a whim.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to help my sister with childcare after her son bullied mine? I, 28 female, have a 4-year-old son, Max, with my husband, Tom, 29 male. Max was born with cerebral palsy and requires certain accommodations. His main two are crutches for walking and his AAC device. An AAC is an iPad/tablet-like device that lets him tap pictures or icons to communicate. Just because he can't physically form words doesn't mean he doesn't have meaningful thoughts. He communicates just like any other 4-year-old and loves talking about typical kid stuff. My sister, 30 female, has 2 kids, James 10 male and Lucy 6 female. Jane is a single parent and works longer hours than Tom and I. To help her out, James and Lucy take the bus to our house every day. We feed them dinner, ensure they do their homework, and take care of them until Jane picks them up between 7 to 8 p.m. On Wednesday night, the kids were playing as usual when we noticed James start mimicking the way Max walks and talks. He exaggeratedly walked with a limp and made strange sounds, clearly imitating Max. Tom immediately told him to stop. However, James kept doing it, and Lucy laughed along. Max became visibly upset. Tom called them both out of the family room and scolded them firmly but without yelling. James got very quiet and sat at the table until Jane arrived to pick them up. The next day, Thursday, James did it again. When I asked him why, he said, "My mom told me it's okay." I was furious. I told him to sit at a table for the rest of the evening. When Jane came to pick them up, Tom and I took her aside to talk. She said she didn't see what the big deal was and claimed James was just joking. I told her ableism is never funny and that if her child couldn't behave appropriately, he wouldn't be welcome anymore. Jane responded by saying I was being overprotective and that Max would have to learn to deal with people being mean to him because it's inevitable. I told her my 4-year-old deserved to feel safe in his own home and I wouldn't tolerate this behavior. Jane got upset, took her kids, and left. The next morning, I called the school and told them not to send James and Lucy to my house on a bus anymore. The school has an after-school program that runs until 7 p.m., but it costs money. When Jane came to my house that evening to pick up the kids, I informed her they were at the school program. She panicked and rushed to get them. This morning, I woke up to a barrage of angry texts from Jane, accusing me of being cruel and unreasonable. She was especially upset when I reminded her she'd now have to pay for childcare. When Jane realized the financial impact, she shifted her tone and tried apologizing, claiming she'd talk to James about his behavior. I told her it was too late, the damage was done, and her kids were no longer welcome at my house. Jane argued that she couldn't afford the childcare costs and might have to find another job. I told her that wasn't my problem. Now she's even angrier, and I'm questioning whether I handled the situation correctly. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your sister and nephew both faced the natural consequences of their actions. You have a duty to protect your child. On the first night, you corrected the behavior with the children. Then your sister undermined your authority in your own home. She has become too comfortable with you essentially co-parenting her children and feels entitled to co-parent your child. She doesn't feel bad that your son was hurt by her son's actions. Instead, she's encouraging her son to act out because she disagrees with your parenting style. When you addressed the issue, she refused to acknowledge her responsibility. You told her to seek alternative childcare. Yes, the time frame was short, but child care programs can terminate care just as quickly in cases of misbehavior or other issues. She isn't remorseful for hurting her nephew. She's only upset that her actions had consequences. Exactly. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Imagine thinking that it's okay to mock the disabled son of the person who is co-parenting your children and saving you thousands of dollars a year without taking a cent. The shocked Pikachu face when they stop helping you. Shaking my head. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're 100% right. Ensuring Max feels safe in his own home is the priority. Your sister has no genuine remorse for her actions or her children's. She only changed her tune when she realized it was going to cost her money. Family should be a safe place, and she has proven she doesn't deserve to be a part of Max's life. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to contribute money to my mom's family Christmas gift after finding out it's going to my brother? I, 25 female, have 2 siblings. My older brother Alex, 28 male, and my younger sister Lily, 19 female. My mom recently came up with an idea for a family Christmas gift that we would all chip in for. She told us it was something that would benefit everyone, but wouldn't reveal what it was. She just said she needed $500 from each of us by the end of the month. Now, $500 is a lot of money for me. I just started a new job, and I'm still trying to save up after struggling financially for a while. I told my mom I needed more details before I could commit, but she kept brushing me off, saying it was a surprise. A few days ago, I found out the truth. Lily let it slip that the family gift is actually a down payment on a new car for Alex. Apparently, his car broke down recently and he needs a replacement. My mom thought it would be a good idea for all of us to pitch in and get him something nice for Christmas. I was furious. Alex is 28, has a stable job, and makes way more money than I do. On top of that, my mom never asked any of us if we were okay with this. She just assumed we'd all go along with it. When I confronted her, she said it's only fair since Alex does a lot for the family and deserves it. I told her I wasn't contributing and that it was ridiculous to call this a family gift when it's only for Alex. She got upset and said I was being selfish and ungrateful. Alex chimed in saying I could afford it if I really cared and accused me of being jealous of him. Even Lily sided with them, saying it's not a big deal and that I'm ruining Christmas by making it an issue. Now my whole family is mad at me. They're calling me cheap and saying I'm being petty over something that's supposed to be a nice gesture. I feel bad for causing tension, but I also feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Not the a-hole. Your mom's bringing a $500 family gift on you without being upfront is really shady, especially since it's just for Alex's car. It's not your job to fund your own brother's problems, especially when he's better off financially than you. You have every right to say no since it's your money, and $500 is no joke. Them guilt-tripping you and calling you selfish isn't fair. You're not ruining Christmas. They're the ones making it so one-sided. Stand your ground. The fact that Alex piled on with such a condescending comment makes it clear this isn't a gift but a demand. He should be ashamed. Alex is not ashamed. He's the only son, no doubt the golden child. He's entitled beyond measure because that's how he was raised. I bet if Opie thought back to her childhood, she'd see plenty of times when Alex was favored. Mom knows Alex is better off financially than Opie. Yet, she still made this sneaky, underhanded, and unfair demand. That's why she was so evasive when questioned. If I were Opie, I'd seriously consider going no contact at this point. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad and his wife I won't take responsibility for my disabled stepsister's care in the future? My parents are divorced, and I, 17 male, mostly live with my mom. 5 years ago, my dad got married to Rebecca, and Rebecca and her daughter, Yasmin, moved in with my dad. Yasmin is 7 now and severely disabled. She can't talk or do things for herself. I don't know much about her condition overall because I never spent much time with Rebecca or Yasmin. However, I've learned some things over the past few years. I know Rebecca has a fund set aside for Yasmin's future care, and my dad has been paying into it. He's invested more into her future than he ever did into mine, which is a sore point for me, but I understand she needs it more. Yasmin's dad doesn't do anything for her, so my dad took on the role of ensuring she'd be cared for. The issue is that my dad and Rebecca are worried about what will happen to Yasmin when they die. If something happened to them tomorrow, the money is there for her care. But Yasmin's father doesn't care about her, and there's no other family to step in. This came up the other day when my dad asked me to spend the day with him. I agreed, and he invited me to his house for dinner. However, dinner didn't happen because they sat me down to ask if I would look after Yasmin and be a big brother to her when they're gone. They wanted me to take responsibility for her care, whether that meant overseeing her needs in a care home or even taking care of her myself if necessary. They told me Yasmin is my sister now, and even though we're not related by blood, she is family and needs me. I said no. I told them I wouldn't take responsibility for her. My dad told me I needed to do it for him and said he doesn't ask for much. I admit I snapped and told him he never gives me much, which he said was unfair and that I shouldn't punish Yasmin for it. He said I needed to step up and be a bigger man. Rebecca asked how I could be around her, a sweet girl, and not want to protect her. I told them I've hardly been around Yasmin, don't feel a family bond or loyalty toward her, and they couldn't bully me into it. I left because they only got angrier. My dad has since called my mom's phone looking for me a couple of times. My mom told him he had no right to speak to me the way he did, and that I don't owe him the peace of mind of caring for his stepchild after he's gone. She really stood up for me. Now, my dad and Rebecca are saying I'm a heartless monster for saying no. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Yay for your mom. Tell your dad and stepmom that you will never be your stepsister's caretaker, and they can stop trying to bully you into it. In order to build a sense of family, a parent actually has to be involved in their kid's life. Your dad didn't bother, and your stepmom didn't either. Now they're wondering why you feel no sense of obligation or connection. Not the a-hole. Do you even need to ask? Your dad and stepmom are horrible for asking this of you in the first place, let alone trying to force you into agreeing. You're 17, still a minor. Even after you turn 18, your life is just starting. Taking responsibility for a disabled person is a huge commitment, and it's unfair for them to expect you to promise something like that. Your dad and stepmom are being selfish. They should be making plans for Yasmin's care and a good institution for after they're gone. I think that's the plan, but they want me to take charge and make sure everything's good. If it's not, they want me to step in and fix it. I really don't want that job. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my brother's girlfriend stay in my guest room after she made a scene at dinner? So I, 30 female, live in a nice 2-bedroom apartment in the city. One of my bedrooms is a guest room, and my family often uses it when they come to visit. I'm close with my brother Alex, 27 male, and he recently started dating a woman, Jenna, 26 female. This weekend, Alex asked if he and Jenna could stay with me while they visited the city. I said yes, of course, because I wanted to meet her, and Alex has always been respectful of my home. Things started off fine, but at dinner on the first night, Jenna made things awkward. We were eating at a nice Italian restaurant, and while we were waiting for our food, Jenna started talking about how people who rent instead of owning homes are financially irresponsible. I laughed it off at first, thinking it was a joke, but she doubled down, saying it was basically throwing money away every month. I calmly told her that I rent because I value the flexibility it gives me, especially since my job might require me to relocate in the next few years. She then said, well, maybe if you stopped spending so much money on eating out, you'd be able to afford a down payment. Alex looked mortified and told her to drop it, but she wouldn't. She went on to say that people like me are part of the reason the economy is so messed up, because we don't prioritize home ownership. I snapped back and told her she was being rude and condescending, and that my financial choices were none of her business. The rest of the dinner was tense, and when we got back to my apartment, I told Alex privately that I didn't feel comfortable having Jenna stay in my home anymore. He tried to apologize on her behalf, but I stood firm. I told him he was welcome to stay, but Jenna had to find another place. Jenna overheard and got upset, accusing me of being overly sensitive and dramatic. She said she didn't mean anything by her comments, and that I was taking things too personally. Alex ended up leaving with her, and now he's upset with me, saying I overreacted and put him in an awkward position. I feel bad for making Alex choose, but at the same time, I feel like Jenna disrespected me in my own home and doubled down when called out. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If she didn't mean anything she said, she wouldn't have said it in the first place. She actually doubled down and blamed people like OP for the economic situation. Part of me thinks Jenna was feeling insecure or something. The way she attacked OP was not normal. The audacity of the girl. She probably doesn't have a pot to piss in and has the nerve to lecture you on your finances. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. I think Jenna was envious of OP's home and wanted to make OP feel bad. Some people hate to see other people having nice things. Last story. Am I the a-hole for canceling everyone's Christmas because my mom called the cops on my husband? Usually, my husband, 30 male, and I, 27 female, host Christmas Eve at our house. It's nothing big, just my divorced parents and my 3 teenage siblings. This year, we have a newborn and skipped Thanksgiving, but I've felt comfortable hosting Christmas. Until my mom called the cops on my husband a few weeks back. One of my sisters, 19 female, called me, crying, asking me to pick up our younger sister, 17 female, because she had just gotten into a fight with my mom, and my mom slapped her. Our newborn baby was sleeping, and we wanted to get this 17-year-old ASAP. So I stayed behind while my husband went to get both my sisters. My mom and my 17-year-old sister were at the laundromat. The altercation happened at home. When my husband walked up to their car and told my sister, "Let's go," my mom freaked out, caused a scene, and started yanking on the car door, telling him to let my sister out or she'd call the cops. At this point, my husband had locked the door and kept telling my mom he wasn't letting her out, that she needed space, and that he was bringing her back to our place. My mom walked away and told him to drive off. She could send the cops to my house if she wanted. I was on the phone with him. She called the cops and it backfired. The cops sided with us and agreed that the 17-year-old should have been removed from the situation and should stay with me for a few days. This enraged my mom. For some odd reason, she hates that my sisters and I are close. She has been telling them for years to keep secrets from me and not tell me what happens in her house, though they still do. She has called family meetings with my siblings just to say they need to stop running to me to vent. She says whatever happens in her house is none of my business. She treats me like I am some random outsider and not her literal daughter, and I'm tired of it. She tends to sweep everything under the rug. She never talks about issues and just continues as if she didn't hurt anyone's feelings. She also has a tendency to pull the, "well, sorry, I am such a bad mom" card or deflect and gaslight. A lot. After she called the cops and my husband with the intention of getting him in trouble, I am not letting her just sweep this under the rug and show up for Christmas like we are one big happy family. If she cannot come to us like an adult, apologize and have a mature conversation, she is not welcome in my home. So Christmas Eve is canceled. I'm also not going to raise my daughter around people who make her parents feel like crap. I'm not allowing her to see that people who are supposed to love you can treat you however they want just because they are family. Now, backstory on my mother. I have never considered us to be close. She put me through a lot as a child, and my teen years living with her sucked. She has serious narcissistic tendencies and seriously needs therapy, but I don't even trust her to be honest with a therapist. She's the type to make everyone else the bad guy and make herself look good. There are years and years of incidents with her, but this year I've really had it. However, I've put up with her because of my siblings. So anyways, am I the a-hole for canceling everyone's Christmas? Not the a-hole for uninviting your mom, but I think you should still host Christmas for the rest of the family, as it seems like your sisters and dad didn't do anything wrong. Plus, hosting Christmas while uninviting your mom would send a much stronger message. Or maybe I'm just a petty a-hole for suggesting this. Lol. The thing is, she's the type to not let my siblings come, or she'll make their lives hell for the next week or two. My siblings would be walking on eggshells until she decided she was over it. We're thinking of inviting the kids and my dad over for breakfast and gifts on Christmas Day instead of Christmas Eve, all night. I mean, you already found a great way to deal with her. Every time she throws a tantrum, you can pick your sisters up, or they can go to your place to chill. What's your mom going to do? Call the cops? Lol, fair about picking them up. It's just dropping them back off and putting them in a situation that's full of tension. I don't love the idea of that.
Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down and charging rent when my stepdad started trying to tell me what to do in my own house? My stepdad, 55 male, has been married to my mom, 52 female, for about 5 years. They were doing all right but hit hard times and eventually had their house foreclosed on. So they moved in with me, 27 female. They've been living here for about 2 or 3 months now and it's been going okay until last week or so. Also, my stepdad has been working a part-time job, but has not had full-time employment since then. Anyway, I feel like some of the issues started since I've been on vacation, which I have for 2 weeks. Sometime during the first few days, he saw me heading out and made some sort of comment regarding my outfit. He said the shorts were too short and that I should reconsider. We fought about it back and forth until I just decided to leave because I was tired of reasoning with him. He's been making a lot of these comments at various times and in different ways, like your skirt or shorts are too short, your belly is showing, etc. I've told him to stop, and he says okay, but then he starts up again. I can't say I understand why. I think the straw that broke the camel's back for me was when I had my boyfriend over. I've told my mom about it as well, and she said that she doesn't support it, but that this is a dispute he and I need to solve. My boyfriend stayed until maybe 10:30 to 11 p.m. and then left. My stepdad didn't say anything while he was here, but he emotionally imploded after he left. He said that it's wrong to have guys over that late and to be in my room with them alone. He said that we don't stand for these things in our house. I responded that he can stand for whatever he wants in his house, maybe even in a hypothetical our house, but he can't tell me what to do in my house. I told him that the days of him making unsolicited comments at me need to end. On top of that, I told him that from here on out, I'm charging $400 a month in rent with a month-to-month agreement. Additionally, if he continues to make comments, this agreement is over and he'll be out of the house as soon as I can make it happen. My mom was upset at first, but I was able to calm her down. First, I reminded her that she told me it was up to us to solve this dispute, and this is how I've decided to solve it. Secondly, I told her that since they've been staying for a while, charging rent would make my life a bit easier for as long as he stays. She was a bit more amenable to that second point. My stepdad is just overall quite pissy. He hasn't told my mom or me his thoughts on the arrangement since he yelled at me about it the night of our big argument, but he is just generally ignoring me when he can. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I think your boyfriend needs to come over a lot more. I think you need to assert your dominance over your home each and every day. If they get too comfortable, they won't be incentivized to get their own place. That's actually a good idea. Maybe he should move in, because if the threat of eviction doesn't stop him, maybe seeing my boyfriend will haha. Boyfriend hasn't been over since the incident, but he hasn't made any comments on my clothes at all, so maybe he's improving. Or maybe he just doesn't want to get evicted, who knows. Boyfriend movie night at least twice a week. Friends over for game night once a week, dance party night, etc. Enjoy your house. Now, where to find the friends to make this happen? I do feel like stepdad is making progress towards leaving on his own, but damn, it's slow progress. He hasn't made any comments since, and my mom says he's planning to pay the first rent soon, so I think I'm good for now. Sounds like you found a good solution, not the a-hole. I was initially thinking of evicting them as soon as possible,
But I figured that given he's been chill for months, I didn't need to go nuclear right away. My idea with charging the rent is that to an extent it's a punishment, but also a sort of hint that it's my house. Rent doubles every time he gets into your business. This is funny. I think I'll likely just evict if it continues to be a problem though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing custody to my baby daddy after 3 years? We were together for 6 years. 3 years ago, when our child was just 3, he left us to get back with his first family. They were never married, but they had already been separated for 5 years before we met. I never met his first partner, only their kids, who seemed nice, at least when they needed something. He used to borrow money from me all the time, always claiming it was for his kids' school expenses or other urgent needs. I helped because I wanted to support him as a father. Later, I found out he had been teaching his kids to act polite with me, so he could ask for money more easily. I read their conversations on Messenger, where they talked negatively about me behind my back. I never confronted him. I just took note of what kind of person he really was. When he left, I moved on and raised our child alone. No financial support, no visits, nothing. Now after 3 years of complete absence, he suddenly wants custody. Why? Because his first family left him again. According to a mutual friend, he couldn't provide for them, and on top of that, he's been seeing another woman. So now that he has no one, he thinks he can just claim the child he abandoned? Absolutely not. He had every chance to be a father, and he chose not to be. Custody isn't a backup plan for when your other options fail. Some people are telling me I should give him a chance because he's still the father. But where was that father when our child needed him? Nowhere. Am I the a-hole for refusing? Because to me, there is no choice. Not the a-hole. Be sure to document the entire timeline of this, with copies of all conversations for court. But this will go nowhere without him paying the 3 years of child support he owes. Custody isn't a second chance after failing his first family. Document everything, especially his absence and lack of financial support. He doesn't get to waltz back in now that he's alone. He wants custody so he can go after you for child support. Don't give him a chance. He is not still the father. He never was. That's my feeling too. He wants child support. It has to be about money. If he just suddenly wanted to be involved in the child's life, he would be asking for visitation. The fact that he's wanting custody is definitely all about money. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not saving my mother's child from foster care? When I, 24 male, was 16, my dad died in an accident. A week later, my mother moved another guy in and told me she was pregnant. Within 5 months of moving him in, she was married to this guy and had a daughter with him. I quietly moved out days before my 18th birthday and went no contact with my mother, her husband, and their kid. My grandparents, aunts, and uncles all had relationships with them and me, but separately. They asked me once or twice if I'd ever be open to reconciling, and I said no. I went no contact with one of my aunts 2 years ago when she invited me over to her place for lunch and then sprung the fact that she had my mother's other kid there. My aunt said she wanted to give me a chance to have a relationship away from my mother, and I told her I didn't want one. She said it didn't include my mother, and I told her it didn't matter. The kid wasn't someone I wanted a relationship with. I said we might be related, but I didn't care about her. I told my aunt she should have known that, and instead tried to force me, so I was done. She told me it wasn't right to pass up the chance. I said the kid wouldn't want to be around someone who feels like they shouldn't exist, and that's how I feel. Last November, my mother and her husband died, and their daughter went to my grandparents for a couple of weeks. Then she went to a couple of other relatives, but none wanted to keep her and raise her. This is when they wanted me to step up. I said no a million times and warned I'd go no contact with them if they didn't accept my answer. They ended up placing her in foster care and had the caseworker reach out to see if I'd be willing to become her guardian. I explained that I wasn't, and I turned down the chance for contact between us. I said I wanted none. I didn't want any updates, and I didn't want my details shared with her or her future foster or adoptive parents. My mother's family didn't expect me to stand firm on my decision, and they questioned me for weeks before I followed through and went no contact. I was asked how I could live with myself if I didn't feel guilty, and whether I was worried about throwing away the chance for a relationship one day. I was honest with them. I didn't care. I didn't want a relationship. They asked if I'd be okay with her being abused in foster care. I said it wasn't something I'd feel guilty about, and told them that if they were so bothered, they should take her back and leave me alone. It was quiet for a few weeks after I blocked them everywhere. But then a cousin saw me on a night out with some friends and brought it up, and I had to leave because they refused to let it go. My cousin tried so hard to guilt trip me. The whole family has, really. But I don't feel guilty. I could have taken the kid. I have a second bedroom in my small place. I don't make great money, but I could have made it work. I just don't want to. And the things I said to my aunt before, they're still how I feel. Am I the a-hole for this? I'm curious what unbiased parties will say. Edit to add, for clarification, my mother had an affair while my dad was alive, and they were still married and together when my dad died. She was already pregnant then too, and the affair partner was the father. Not the a-hole. You're not responsible for a child you never wanted a relationship with. Your family had the chance to step up and didn't. Expecting you to isn't fair. You set boundaries, and they ignored them. Don't let guilt tripping change your decision. That's what I can't understand. None of them could pull together to raise her if that was such a priority for them. But they expected me to, knowing how I felt? I am so uniquely qualified to answer this. Part of my job is tracking down potential guardians for kids in care. It's not unusual at all for half-siblings to decline being involved. Often there's trauma they haven't processed, and it's unfair for anyone to expect you to jump in and raise another traumatized kid. The social worker will focus on the other family members as permanency options, then explore options in communities such as adoption. Don't feel guilty. They know this kid. They are involved with this kid. They can figure out how to support her moving forward. And it's cruel to both of you to plunk a traumatized kid into the home of someone who doesn't want them and has no connection to them. What are you supposed to do when she wants to talk about missing her mom? How awful would that be for both of you? Any family who brings it up should be asked why they don't take her. If they already know her and love her, they are a better choice anyhow. Do not feel guilty. This is not your burden to carry. Not the a-hole. Your mother betrayed your father and you by having an affair and getting pregnant while still married. Then she moved the affair partner in 1 week after your dad died? Absolutely disgusting behavior. You don't owe this child anything. Blood relation doesn't equal obligation. Your family trying to guilt trip you is manipulative as heck. They all refuse to step up themselves, but expect you to sacrifice your life? Your mental health matters too. Taking in someone you resent would be harmful for both of you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to acknowledge my half-sibling? I, 22 female, have a half-sister, 6 female from my dad's affair. I want absolutely nothing to do with her, my stepmother, or my dad. My mother was battling cancer when my dad decided to cheat. Instead of being there for his wife while she was literally fighting for her life, he was off playing house with another woman. That left me to pick up his slack, driving my mom to appointments, managing her meds, cooking, cleaning, and basically taking care of everything he should have been doing. I was 16. Meanwhile, my dad got another woman pregnant and then expected me to be a loving big sister to the result. I've made it clear since day one that I want no relationship with my dad's child, my stepmother, or my father, beyond what is absolutely necessary. I barely speak to my dad unless I have to, and I haven't spoken a word to my stepmother in years. As for my half-sibling, I do not acknowledge her existence. I don't talk to her. I don't babysit. I don't entertain her attempts to interact with me. If she comes up to me, I tell her to leave me alone and go back to whatever I was doing. I'm not mean to her, don't yell or insult her, but I refuse to engage. I treat her like a stranger's child. My father and stepmother hate this. They've spent years trying to force a relationship. They push my half-sibling toward me constantly, telling her she has a big sister who loves her but is just a little confused. I don't love her. That family is everything. If that were true, he wouldn't have cheated. That her big sister wants to be in her life, I don't. They try to shove her in my face every holiday, every visit. I've told them straight up, I don't care. She is nothing to me. She's just a kid I don't know, and I don't want to be around. The more they push, the more I dig my heels in. For contrast, I have an older brother, 27 male, and I am a very involved aunt to his kids. I love them to pieces, take them to family-friendly activities, and babysit them for free regularly when my brother and sister-in-law need a break. My father's side calls me a hypocrite for this, but I don't care. My nephew and niece are a family, my father's kid is not. My brother has cut my father's side off completely and has said he'll support me if I do the same. It's clear to everyone that once my grandparents pass, they're the only reason I still have some minimal contact. I'm cutting my father off for good. He'll be just a bad memory, and I feel nothing about it. No money, no guilt trip will ever be worth talking to the man who destroyed my teenage years by making me essentially take on the role of my mom's spouse for 4 years, when I should have been allowed to just be a kid. My stepmother recently confronted me saying I'm cruel and that it's not my half-sibling's fault how she was conceived, that she's an innocent child who just wants a sister. My father backed her up, calling me heartless. Other relatives have chimed in, saying I should be the bigger person, that I'm holding on to too much hate, and that I'm punishing a child for my father's sins. But I don't want to be the bigger person. I don't want anything to do with my father's new family, and I don't care if that makes me a B. But I want to know if I'm an a-hole for this, if only because I want to have an outside perspective with no skin in the game. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. The problem isn't with OP who has a right to her feelings. The problem is with the parents who are setting the child up to be rejected. They are trying to manipulate her to be the bad guy by sending the kid the innocent one just like OP. And they need to knock it off. They're damaging that one too. Idiots. If you don't want anything to do with them, then why do you still see them? My dad and his wife often drop by my grandparents' house with no announcement, and I still want to go to family parties and reunions with my grandparents. And he'll be there when I do. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing the story behind why I grew up in foster care with my wife's family? I, 28 male, went into foster care when I was 5 and stayed in foster care until I turned 18. I don't share the story with people often because it's the start of a lot of deep-rooted trauma that I've spent 8 years working through. The people who know are my 2 closest friends and my wife, 27 female. Oh, and my therapist. But I don't fully count my therapist because I told them for the purpose of healing, not to be upfront with the closest people in my life. My wife's family, both immediate and extended, are close. She has 2 living parents who've been married for 40 years, and she's the second youngest of 6. She has sisters and brothers-in-law, nieces and nephews. Her aunts, uncles, and cousins are regularly part of get-togethers, and I know them all pretty well. But I have never shared the truth with them. They're curious, and I've been asked questions about my past. I answer them with a public version, as I call it, that I went into the system at 5, never had contact with my biological family again, and that I feel it's for the best. They've also asked questions about finding them again and why I don't reach out. A part of why I never tell the full story is that one of my more immediate relatives was a child themselves when I was placed in the system, or a younger teen to be more specific. I know there will be questions about why I don't try to get in touch with them. Plus, I feel like it will lead to encouragement to search for people I've never met, and I'm simply not interested. My wife agrees that her family would probably push for it and wouldn't be able to understand my refusal, and she supports my decision to say nothing. But some of her family are unhappy about being kept in the dark. It's come up a few times, and my wife shuts it down, telling them it's not something they need to know. But I know the conflict will increase over time because of this, and I feel bad about it, especially since I get along well with everyone outside of this issue. So tell me, am I the a-hole or not? Not the a-hole. They need to mind their own business. Why you grew up the way you did, and the trauma around it, is none of their concern. Why are they so hung up on figuring it out? I think there's a mix of curiosity and wanting to play the hero. In my experience, that's why people push so much anyway. They want to be the ones to help me reunite with people. I had a social worker like that for a few months. It was hell. Help you reunite people you have no interest in reuniting with? They sound real fun. They should use their savior complex elsewhere. That social worker was taken off my case for that reason. Reached out to the formerly minor relative when I was a teenager and tried to push reunification. Their feelings hadn't changed about me, and it was fun hearing about that. Not the a-hole. Damn. People really do like to be in other people's business, don't they? You do not owe them an explanation or your life story. Please keep asserting those boundaries. They do. A small part of me gets being curious, but I can't imagine pushing like some of them have.